Hello everyone, this is Doc ID. How are you guys doing? So today we have an interesting topic. We're going to talk about the famous Pfizer vaccine that I personally received myself as well. We're going to talk about the safety and the efficacy of this virus. I'm going to go with you with all the results and it should be fun. So don't forget to subscribe and let's get on to the lecture. All right, guys, let's get into this study. This is about the COVID-19 vaccine, the famous Pfizer vaccine. It's also known as actually the BNT162b2 messenger RNA. It is a RNA vaccine. This was published in New England Journal of Medicine, which was called Safety and Efficacy of the BNT162b2 messenger RNA COVID-19 vaccine. This was a study that was conducted in the US and Germany, and 2 doses of the vaccine were given, in which it elicited high antibody titers and a robust antigen-specific CD8 positive and T helper 1's type CD4 plus T cell responses. So let's get into it. So people got 2 doses. This was 21 days apart, and it was individuals who got the vaccine and a placebo. The adults were 16 years or older. They were either healthy or had a stable chronic medical condition. We had some key exclusion criteria, which included medical history of COVID-19, treatment with immunosuppressive therapy, and diagnosis with a immunocompromising condition. So now we'll jump into the safety aspect of it, and there are like 4 bullet points that you need to know. Specific local or systemic adverse events, use of antipyretic or pain medication, unsolicited adverse events through 1 month after the second dose, remember 1 and then 21 days later, and unsolicited serious events through 6 months after the second dose. The adverse event data was included 3.5 months after the second dose. So we go into the efficacy of the vaccine against confirmed COVID-19 with onset at least 7 days after the second dose in people who had been without serologic or virologic evidence of any COVID-19 infection up to 7 days after the second dose. Efficacy was also seen in people with and people without evidence of prior infection. Confirmed cases was defined as presence of at least one of the following symptoms: new or increased cough, new or increased shortness of breath, chills, muscle pain, loss of taste or smell, sore throat, diarrhea or vomiting, combined with a respiratory specimen obtained during symptomatic period or within 4 days before or after it was positive for COVID-19. Which then takes us into the results, as all of you are probably waiting for. So what did it show? This study was done between July 27, 2020 and November 14, 2020. It was a total of 44,820 people were screened, 43,448 patients 16 years or older underwent randomization. This was done in 152 sites worldwide. 21,720 received the vaccine and 21,728 received the placebo. You can see very well balanced. The data cutoff date was October the 9th. So we had 37,706 participants had a median of at least 2 months of safety data available after the second dose. So now we go into this table, very informative about the data for the safety data that we have. So it includes BNT, which is the vaccine, placebo, obviously it got no vaccine, and then we have the total on your right. I've kind of highlighted them. And what it showed was that 49% were female, 83% were white, 9% were black or African American, 28% were Hispanic or late Latino. 35% were obese, and you had at least 21% had at least one coexistent condition. Median age was 52, and 42% of the participants were older than 55 years of age. So what was the reactogenicity? It included 8,183 participants. And you will go on to this next figure that you come to. And this is where we will see what people kind of worry about as to what kind of side effects they get. So if you look at this, I got this highlighted local events. You can see ages 16 through 55 years of age, dose 1. You go below that, that's dose 2. And then you have more than 55 years of age, the older crowd, dose 1. And then you have the second graph as showing dose number 2. Pain was reported less frequently among older than 55 years of age. Remember that, older or less, 71% that I've kind of highlighted down in dose 1 that you can see. After the first dose, 66% after the second dose. And if you compare that to the younger participants, when you go to the upper two graphs, it shows 83% after the first dose and 78% after the second dose. So what's interesting is that less than 1% across all age groups reported severe pain. So most of this is mild to moderate. Local reactions were mild to moderate and interestingly resolved in 1 to 2 days, which I can kind of attest to, as all the physicians and nurses and staff that have received the vaccine in a hospital say the same thing. Symptoms last 24 to 48 hours. So let's go on to the systemic events: fever, fatigue, headache, chills, vomiting, diarrhea, muscle pain, joint pain. And once again, if you go on to this next table, you will see age group 16 through 55, dose 1 and 2, and then again more than 55 years of age, dose 1 and 2. And if you see on the bottom line that I've highlighted were all the symptoms, the systemic events that we just mentioned. So what does this table show? It shows actually systemic events were actually reported more often by younger vaccine recipients, the age group between 16 to 55 as you go up, than by the older vaccine recipients. And this was seen mostly after dose number 2 than dose number 1. Most commonly reported systemic events were fatigue and headache, as you can see, 59% and 52%, which you see in that table where I saw the 16 through the 55 years of age. And this was mostly in the, again, younger vaccine recipients. The older were 51% and 39%. Again, I've circled that for you on the bottom. Now, interestingly, fatigue and headache were also reported by many placebo recipients, 23% and 24%. So the frequency of any severe systemic event after the first dose was 0.9% or less, pretty much nothing. Now, fevers, they were reported after the second dose by 16% of younger vaccine recipients and by only 11% of older recipients. Only 0.2% of these vaccine recipients and 0.1% of placebo recipients reported fever after the first dose, as compared with 0.8% and 0.1% after the second dose. Only 2 people each in the vaccine and the placebo group reported temperature above 40 degrees centigrade. What was also interesting, if you go to my last thing, use of antipyretic medication on the right hand side, it shows you, it's yellowed out, that younger vaccine recipients were more likely to use antipyretic or pain medication, that is 28% after dose number 1 and 45% after dose 2 than older vaccine recipients. Which then takes us to adverse events. So obviously there was more vaccine related adverse events. You can see 27% versus placebo, which was 12%. So 4 related serious adverse events were reported among the vaccine, and I'm going to list that: shoulder injury, related to vaccine administration, right axillary lymphadenopathy, ventricular arrhythmia, and right leg paresthesia. Which now takes us to deaths. Important thought. Vaccine had 2 deaths. Placebo, who never got the vaccine, had 4 deaths. And none of these deaths were related to vaccine or placebo. So that takes us to what we finally come to. We had 36,523 participants, cases of coronavirus 7 days after the second dose. So in the vaccine we had 18,198 people, and in the placebo we had 18,325 people. 8 people got it in the vaccine after the second dose, and 162 people got it in the placebo group, and that gave us a vaccine efficacy of 95% efficacy, which is awesome. So really, a 2-dose regimen of this vaccine was found to be safe and 95% effective against COVID-19. So with this data, I hope everybody's convinced that this vaccine and all the anti-vaxxers and all the rumors is not really going to make COVID-19, or what we know as coronavirus, go away. Masks not going to go. Nothing's going to go until at least 70 to 80% of the population is vaccinated, so that we can have this herd immunity. You can go to my lecture that I did before this, and that kind of talks about herd immunity as well. So our next topic is going to be about Moderna vaccine, and we'll talk about that data soon as well. So please don't forget to subscribe and get your notifications on so we can get our other topics going. All right, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the topic. This is very informative. We really need to get vaccinated to get that herd immunity going, so that we can get rid of all our masks and hopefully try to get life as normal as possible. Anyways, next topic I'm actually going to talk about some of the vaccine type of vaccines. Like for example, in coronavirus, this is a messenger RNA vaccine, and so I'm going to talk about different vaccines that are also being done in different parts of the world as well. So see you next time. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below.